Hello and welcome to today's Brew podcast. My name's Mike.
I'm Debbie.
I'm Jonathan.
And today we're going to talk about the RACI technique, which is a much misunderstood technique and something that Jonathan knows loads about. So share some of your wisdom, Jonathan.
So thanks for that, Mike. In our pre-podcast prep, I've been getting ribbed for being the RACI geek, the RACI anorak. Thanks for that. I've also been told I can't talk too much about RACI because I'm a bit too passionate. I need to just go write a blog. So thanks for really geeing me up today, guys. I'm looking forward to today's pod. RACI's the most undervalued business technique, let alone a business change technique, in my view. It's the cause of frustration. It's the cause of misunderstanding in businesses when they don't understand the direction of travel. We've got people trying to make decisions that are not the decision maker. You've got people being consulted that should just be informed. I'm in a bit of a warpath of this technique. I think it's the most undervalued technique in business, let alone business change. And if we understood who was accountable for things, and those people took accountability and delegated that accountability, we might have better and more efficient businesses than what we've got today. I don't know. I might be on a lone footing here, obviously, given the stick you guys have been giving me in the pre-pod warm up. But in terms of business change, what's the cause of failure in a business change? People aren't getting what they want. Then maybe they're not being consulted properly. Maybe they're not informed. Maybe the accountables not making it clear what the direction of travel is. This is one of the most important tools in the BA toolkit, and I'll stop chatting now because I've been told I can only limit myself to something.
I think you need to stop now, Jonathan. Actually, I think that's very sensible. No, I mean, I sort of agree with you. I do agree with you because I think there are too many situations where that A for accountable doesn't exist. So you get deliverables, you get processes, you get tasks, you get all sorts of things, and there's nobody taking on that A. And then sometimes you get the opposite, where you get a number of people who are accountable. And I'm doing finger quotes deliberately because actually when you've got loads of people accountable, nobody's accountable. Yes. So I really like RACI as well. Whether I'd say it'll transform business and save the world, not quite so sure. What do you reckon, Mike? What do you think?
I'm not sure about saving the world, but we'll have a go. For me, it's an important sort of addition to our stakeholder management piece, because we spend a lot of time within business analysis actually identifying our stakeholders, and we do our power interest grid and sort of say what they're going to do and what sort of interest they've got. And we have loads of activities, but if we don't clearly know who's going to be doing them, who's actually responsible for them, it does make things very difficult. I've experienced quite a few projects where it's not been clear who's actually responsible and accountable for stuff. So it's made it rather difficult actually doing the job and then getting it signed off at the end, because how do you know who are you actually getting the approval from? Who is the person who's got the final say? And as you say, there is you've got two problems there. Either you haven't got anybody who's being accountable, so nobody's name is in the frame at all. So where does it end? Or you've got multiple people who think they're accountable, but actually, and the worst situation is if they've got a difference of opinion, then how on earth can you ever resolve that if you've got two people that are in conflict there? So it is challenging. I think the RACI is a really useful technique, but as Jonathan says, it's sort of an underused and possibly undervalued tool.
And that logjam of two people who think they're an A clashing, and there not being someone that can control and pull the threads together and say, well, this is the direction. This is one of the causes of frustration that with customers. If you talk about customer experience or why the customer experiences go wrong, it's different departments passing the buck. They're not accountable for the customer journey. They're accountable for their little bit of the customer journey, and then, oh, sorry, can you refine our call center and call this particular division because I can't deal with your query? There's no one accountable for the overall customer journey. And I just want to throw this in. given my RACI geekiness, RASCI. And if RACI is the technique that could save business and save your customer journey, then we throw RASCI in, S. So let's say we should cover it. Accountable is yes, no. Responsible is the doer. In RACI, the C is consult and I is informed. I just wanted to get it out there. I need to get it off my chest. And the reason why I'm saying it is because the S in RASCI is an abomination. It's support. And this is another blog. I know you're going to tell me just go write a blog, but the S, support. Are you going to do the job? Are you going to not do the job? And it causes confusion. And it's a technique that should be put in the bin and never used by anyone ever. And we need to kind of, I don't know, we need to stop this RASCI. Is the rascal of a technique, I suppose.
So welcome to the BA rant, and enjoyed that.
A bad podcast.
It's interesting though, because I actually think the R is quite interesting as well, you see, because that is the person who is actually responsible for getting the job done. They're not accountable for the outcome or accountable, as you say, to the customer, but they are responsible for doing the work. And I'm not sure sometimes that that's very clear either, without having done a RACI.
Yeah.
God, I nearly said RASCI then for a minute. And
just going to wind me up there.
I know, but so yes, it is really an interesting one, because when you start digging inside RACI, when you start using it, you do see all sorts of things crawl out. And, recently I was thinking about business change managers, because obviously I don't have a life, and these things just strike me as interesting things to think about. And I was thinking about one of my favorite subjects, role clarity. Okay. I know Jonathan's the geek. I'm not quite sure what that makes me, but I was thinking, I've seen lists and lists and lists of things, roles like business change managers or business analysts or whoever are responsible for. But I'm not actually sure what that responsibility means. Does it mean they're going to do the work? Does it mean they're accountable? Does it mean they're supporting somebody? Sorry, Jonathan. I'm not sure. And I think the beauty about RACI is it makes it crystal clear. And I like that.
And the other thing I really like about it, and I've got a long list, obviously.
Hang on.
So wake up, everyone.
How many granddads have you got?
It empowers. So in a team, if you're accountable for something, and you're genuinely accountable, you have yes, no authority, you're empowered. And this is, for me, if you're going to ask me to do something and you empower me to do it, you make me accountable, I'll then have entire control. And when I'm doing something, I want it to be good. And therefore, I'm the decision maker. So that level of empowerment can be really motivating. And one of the, and I'll try not to sway the subject too much, but in an agile team, I think RACI is really, really, really needed. If they're a self-organizing team, they should be able to sit down and say, who's doing what? Given our respective roles and given what we're trying to achieve. And if we agree it, we can obviously update it if we need to, because we're going to listen, learn, continuous improvement. But it's just so useful that we know who is accountable for, I don't know, backlog refinement or writing acceptance criteria. And it's just really basic stuff like that to just help a team do work quicker than it would otherwise do. I don't know, I need to stop talking, obviously.
You've just sent us to silence. What do you reckon, Mike? What about you?
Yes, shocked and stunned. I don't think I've ever seen Jonathan quite so passionate about anything. So it's interesting. And one of the things that occurred to me as we were sort of talking through that is actually the impact of not doing a RACI, or dare I say it, RASCI beforehand. And the big risk, and I've seen this occur a number of times, is that it's fine where the project goes well. You can kind of get away with it. If the project doesn't go so well, then it becomes the project or the IT department's problem. They're the ones who failed because they're the ones who are seen as accountable by default, because nobody else has taken that sort of accountability for it. And you think as well, if we don't have the right people involved and accountable and sort of standing behind it, our projects are going to struggle, because we're not doing the projects for the glory of the IT department or the change department. We're doing it to make the business better. And actually, the person who's benefiting from that really needs to take some sort of ownership and be involved in it, because otherwise it's so unlikely to be successful. So actually doing the RACI and having that conversation can build those relationships and get the project off on a good footing, so that we perhaps avoid the project failure and the finger pointing and blame game at the end of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right, because I don't know about you, but I've been in situations so many times where there's something that's gone wrong, and what you want is it fixed. Yeah. And what you get is the reason why it's gone wrong. Okay. And the fact that it's somebody else's fault. And somebody said to me a few years ago about a situation they'd been in, and they'd said to an internal department, can you stop making your problem my problem and sort it out? And I thought, yes, I get that. And unfortunately, when you work in IT and change, if there's nobody actually accountable for outcomes or accountable for certain tasks or whatever, it's very easy to pass the reason for an issue over. But that doesn't address it, does it? You know, I mean, and at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but if there's a problem, I just want it sorted.
Without a RACI, you just pass the problem around the departments, and you if you're trying to influence, positive change, you might think about the positive outcomes of change, and you're moving a problem between one department and another. Who's accountable for that? And it's just the gap that RACI shines a light on. The other thing I'm going to say about RACI as well, the misuse of RACI. Not that I've got a list, obviously, but I've seen RACI misused in terms of let's imagine there's anoraks like myself possibly that have
or not
every specific line item of a deliverable, loads of templates in a change framework, for example, and you look at the RACI and you've got 200 lines on the RACI. As a result, no one can read it. It's not clear who's doing what, and it doesn't provide clarity, and it doesn't provide empowerment as well. It's kind of like a box checking, cover your back kind of exercise. And those types of RACIs are not the ones that I'm a fan of. They're not meeting my quality criteria.
I've seen another issue as well. I quite like things to be consistent. Consistency is one of my favorite words. And you've seen RACIs where there are deliverables and activities mixed in together. And the risk of that is somebody's accountable for the activity, but not accountable for the delivery of the deliverable. And so you get sort of a muddle, and you get muddled thinking then. So it's got to be clear and it's got to be consistent. Otherwise, it's not usable. And if it's not usable, it can't shine that light you're talking about, Jonathan.
I'm thinking of muddled thinking being the opposite to, I don't know, one of the other positive thinking approaches there. We have a blog there around the advent of muddled thinking in business and business change. There's a lot of it, and it's a bit of a, I don't know, I'm going to quote Deming now, a disease. I don't know if this is a disease of modern business. This lack of clarity, lack of accountability, lack of ownership, and muddled thinking, Debbie. It's and for the business analyst, this is trying to wade your way through fog, trying to get decisions.
But it's really important, isn't it? Because as Mike said, we're dealing with stakeholders, and those stakeholders are going to have change sometimes done to them, or they're going to be influential in the change. And I was thinking, Mike, when you were talking about the power interest grid, obviously you get people, when you look at the power interest grid, who are having change done to them, but they've got to be kept informed, haven't they? So this is where that sort of I category comes to the fore.
And probably consulted as well, because actually you want to, you don't, I don't like to do a project and just tell people this is what's happening to you, because actually there may be things that I've not thought of that actually they can tell me, and we could actually do things to them a bit better. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? But by collaborating, we achieve a better outcome rather than just telling people this is what we're going to do. And you could tell them this is how we're planning to do it, and if that's fine, great. But actually, you get good ideas from engaging with people properly and working with them. So that consulting and informing is important.
And here's a question for the two of you. Which favourite phrase of Debbie has Mike just alluded to when we're talking about collaborating with people to get better outcomes?
Is this a thinking approach by any chance, Debbie?
Could it be a double C?
It could be the double C, part of the thinking approach.
Is it that a business can deliver value? Is that what it is? Is that what you're thinking? Because I know
I'm thinking two C's. I'm thinking the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. It's got to be co-creating value.
You've thought as well, haven't you, Debbie? We haven't heard this before.
The lucky
I've never mentioned it for the last 10 minutes, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you start thinking about it, we start talking about RACI. Mike takes us into the power interest grid. Yeah, Jonathan dismisses RACI out of hand. But then we start talking about collaboration. Jonathan introduces agile and agile teams. And then you can see how that consulting, informing, and also actually the responsibility and accountability as well, all contributes towards value co-creation, which takes us right back to where Jonathan started by saying about how it is necessary to really improve business. And isn't that what business analysts do?
That's what our job is. Yeah. And if we're not offering a service, we're not helping our businesses improve, what is it we're doing? If we're doing something, and these kind of techniques help to shine a light on that and help you to see whether or not you are contributing positively to a team's outcomes, to a business unit, or to a business's outcomes overall. And I know I said deliver value, Debbie, because I know that you hate that combination of words, but that offer value and co-create, and that collaboration. And there's lots of advocates of collaboration and people that talk about it, but they've got no sense whatsoever as to how to achieve collaboration. And this is where I think the empowerment comes in, because if you are going to co-create value with a customer, you have to be empowered to maybe go off the script with the customer to do something unique for them, to help them. And that kind of flexibility and the agility in your decision making is the opposite of that muddled thinking, I think. But clarity on outcomes is what this technique's about.
But no, that was really interesting, because it's how all these things connect together to me, that actually and moving it towards what we're trying to actually overall achieve. And I think RACI is a really key part of that myself. I agree.
Yeah, Jonathan, have you got a good sort of summary statement of why RACI is so important to you? Why do you love it so much?
Because it provides clarity. It can provide a basis for empowerment and collaboration and outcome-driven business, outcome-driven change. So I rest my case. There we go.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to stop, really. I mean, you've won us over. You've convinced us that maybe later we'll do a RACI. We might even do it for this and work out what we're supposed to be doing here.
That might happen, isn't it?
Well, thanks for that. It's a good conversation. I'd like to say thanks to everybody who's joined us today. It's been an interesting and perhaps quite amusing session, wandering around the world of RACI. If you have got any questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please drop us an email to babrew@AssistKD.com. Thanks again, and see you again soon.
Bye.
Cheers.